Hey. I hope everybody is having an amazing Tuesday. I almost said hump day, so clearly I got my days messed up. But today I want to share with you some information, some guidance on your message, your story, your impact. I know that if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I have a training coming up next week. This has to do with uncovering your purpose and your mission and your impact. So it's super important. So I have a little bit to share on my end, and there is a reason at the end. So bear with me on it. I had to recently create a condensed version of my story. And by no means does this include everything and anything. But it was very difficult for me. It's very difficult for people in general to talk about their messages, their stories, and how it relates. And I'm going to be honest, I never really connected the dots until I sat down and wrote it. I never connected the dots at how my story always was my impact. My story always had my impact hidden in there. I just didn't know, and I just wasn't sure. So that's why most of you know me as a coach. I've been a coach and a business strategist for about a year. If you've noticed my Facebook cover, I added speaker and girls mentor to that because that is what I have always wanted to do. That was always my goal, and I was always hiding behind it for the fear of my story wasn't good enough, my message and my voice wasn't enough. But I'm excited. So bear with me on this. This is a condensed version of my story that is being put in a promotional video to mentor girls in school. These are going to be girl talk rallies and workshops, and I'm really excited about them. But I'm sharing this story with you because I want you to, if this prompts you to sit down and think about your story, if you're not sure what your impact in this world is yet, and what you're here to do, because I'm here to tell you, just being a network marketer, that's not where your impact is. You have impact in there. Your goal and your purpose on this planet is to be you, and to be you, and to give the world you and create impact that way. So for me, this starts out this way. So it's always been said, or I've heard that it's been said, that the strongest role model a girl can have is her mother. So what happens to the girls who don't have a mother, who were not blessed with knowing their real mother, or maybe by horrible circumstances their mother wasn't with them, or maybe their mom just chose not to be a mom? And I can tell you that the latter part of that is part of my story. From the day I was born, honestly, I think I felt as I got older that I was the unwanted one. I was the little girl whose mom was 17, who decided that she was too young to have kids, and she gave me to my grandparents. Until 2 years later, when she showed back up to take me back because she had another child. She had my brother. So I started off being given away right when I was born. So there was literally no connection with my mom, probably from the get-go. I became the little girl that watched horrible things between their parents. I became the little girl whose parents separated very young. I would probably say 6 or 7. And I became the little girl that took care of kids. Instead of playing with Barbies and playing dolls and doing all those things, I was taking care of 2 children. And that was everything. That was breakfast. That was waking up for school. That was, all of the things a parent were supposed to be doing, but instead I was doing. I was the little girl that when adults whispered, they said, "Oh, poor thing. She really never had a childhood. She had to be grown." I was that little girl. So you want to compound that with the fact that I was a little girl that grew up in a small town. And when I'm talking small, I'm talking really small, like historic town. We didn't have chain restaurants. I mean, we were tiny. I tried really hard to fit in and be the girl that I had nothing. My mom had nothing. We were extremely poor. The little girl who just wanted to fit in, but desired to be so much more. I desired to be more than just like everyone else. I desired to be more. So at age 12, I decided trying to figure out where this light is. I decided my voice mattered, and I decided my dreams mattered, my life mattered. I didn't want to be a babysitter anymore. I didn't want to be a mom to little children at 12. I wanted to go play sports. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to do the things that 12 and 13-year-old girls were doing. So in order to take control of that, I can remember this day like it was yesterday in the bathtub, I concocted a way to make that happen, and I did it. I moved out. I moved out when I was 12. So I became the girl without a home. What I mean by that is I bounced around from friend to friend to friend. Whatever friends' parents were willing to take me in that moment, that's who I lived with. And I will forever, ever be grateful to them. Even all the things that went on, I will be grateful forever for them for taking me in and taking care of me and giving me a space just to be. But I didn't have a real family. I didn't have things I could call my own. I didn't have a bedroom of my own. I was in a room of things that weren't mine. You know, you have the clothes that are on your back and you have, that's it. Nothing else is yours. So in the tough moments and feeling alone and feeling like you're a burden a lot, you know, sleeping in rooms that weren't yours, I still, in all of those moments, I still felt powerful, and I still felt really in control of my life, really in control of who I was. And I look back at that and I think, wow, that was like some of the most empowering decisions I could have made. It was empowering to be able to make that decision at 12. But at 12, I was way too young to understand the devastation, the trail of devastation that would leave behind, because I was too young to understand. So what that turned into was at 13, I gave my power away. What that looks like, without going into it too far, is that I gave away my self-belief, my self-worth, my confidence. I looked for love in places that I shouldn't have at the age of 13. I grasped for anything that anybody would give me that even remotely looked like attention. It didn't matter how bad it looked. It didn't matter what it equated to. If I was getting attention, I was just looking for that. And after that, things were never the same. Things were never the same for me. People never looked at me the same. And, you know, being the girl without the home, I began to become the girl that got called every name that you could possibly think of, because it was horrible what I was doing. At 14, that year after that, I attempted suicide. There was only one person in this world that I've ever said that to, or because he knew, because he was the person who was on the phone with me, and rest his soul, because he's not with us anymore. He was the person on the line that, you know, did everything he could to try to make me stop, to try to tell me that it wasn't worth it. That it was just a boy. It was just a girl. It didn't matter. And I mean, thankfully it didn't work. But it was a rough day. It was a rough night. It was a rough thing to go through, and to go through alone, because nobody knew. This is the first time I'm saying it out loud, because this person is the only person who ever knew. So this is really rough. But it didn't make things better. It actually made things worse. I turned to drugs and alcohol. And by 15, academically, I was doing horribly. This is coming from I was a good student. And I loved sports, and I loved doing all the things I did. But I stopped playing sports. I stopped doing anything and everything but numbing the pain with drugs and alcohol. That was my choice. In that same time frame, we had some new girls that joined our school, and things were still crazy, and they began to bully me. And they began to bully me because I was dating a brother of theirs. It was just a crazy, ridiculous reason for any girl to want to bully somebody. But it became so bad because she decided that she was going to get the girls that I thought were my friends in on it. And one day it became so bad that I packed a backpack and I didn't tell anyone. And I hitched my way from New York to Florida. And I showed up on my aunt's doorstep and I said, I'm here. And in that moment, in that second, that was a way that I said, again, I'm taking it back. I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my life back. None of you are going to control or dictate how I feel about myself and how things look and what things are going to happen to me. So I left. I literally, 15 years old, I showed up at my aunt's doorstep. Of course, she took me in, and that didn't last very long because the cycle, that continuous cycle of rebellion in who I was and who I was becoming, and that nobody was going to tell me anything, it doesn't last. And so at 17, it started again. I was back in somebody else's home that I lived here until finally, when you turn 18 and you just get your own apartment and you move from there. But I mean, it was really sad because the cycle continued well into my 20s. And I used to sit and wonder. I used to drive home and I used to say, what would my life have looked like if things were different when I was a girl, when I was a kid? If someone was just there to talk to guide me. And I had my grandmother who was amazing, but a grandmother is somebody who just, you don't want to let down. She's like the woman that you look up to, that you never want to let down, to let them know that these horrible things are happening. And there was no one else. There was just no one else. So I constantly wondered what my life would look like for that. And now, today, I can tell you that I know I was given that exact journey for a reason. It's this powerful, sometimes like really unexplainable feeling. So if you guys know, if you have a true calling or you have an impact, or then you know what this feeling is like. It's like this unexplainable feeling, but that every day wholeheartedly you can't let it go. It's what keeps pushing you forward. It's like the driving factor. Even when you keep failing, you just keep going because it's been put there. It's been put there for a reason. And so this story coming out is because part of my reason is that I have been on a mission. I've always had this in my heart to do, and I'm going to make this happen finally, to show girls that no matter what their roots look like, no matter where they come from, that their voice matters, that they're important, that they have limitless possibilities of who they can become. And it's where they come from does not dictate where they're going. You have the choice and you have the ability. And honestly, owning who you are and having the self-worth and self-belief and self-confidence, knowing that those are the most precious gifts that God has given you, and you hold on to those so tightly and never let go. And when you have a feeling that something's happening, that you need somebody to talk to, I want to be one of those mentors, to be able to be there for you, to be able there to guide you, to show you the way, to help you rally other girls, to show you the way that there is another way. And you can create an impact. One voice, one story, one thing, no matter how small you think it is, no matter how insignificant. For so many years, I literally, and this is a minor part of the story, I felt that my story wasn't enough, that my story couldn't impact someone, that it wasn't big enough, it wasn't important enough, and who would want to hear this, and who would understand this. And I'm here to tell you that once you figure that out, once you know what your impact is, and once you're willing to be open to what that means, it means that I'm here to do that. I'm here to speak. I'm here to stand on a stage and empower, and I'm here to coach women, and I'm here to mentor girls. And that is such a huge responsibility, which is why I was looking for anything to grasp and hang on to other than that, other than, oh my God, that scary, freaky, freaking fact that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I have to step into that regardless of how scary it is. So your message, your mission should be to, if you're not sure what your impact is if you don't have an impact, that every day you get up and you do something that you fail at, that doesn't go right, that you're saying, oh my God, all these successful women that are coaches, that are doing this, that are doing that, they're making all this money and I'm not making anything, so I'm just going to quit. It's so much more that you will never quit on your impact. You will never quit on your mission, if that's truly what you're here to do. So what I want you to do is to just look back. If you don't know what your mission is, let's look at your message. Let's look at your messy story. Let's look at what's happened in your life. Let's look at the things that make you you, that make your story unique over everyone else's. And let's really figure out that message, because there's somebody that needs to hear it. There's somebody that needs to share in your journey, to share in your message. There's somebody here that you're meant to impact. And even if it's just one person, one soul, one girl, one woman, one man, one whatever, even if it's just one person on this planet, then you've done your job. That's what you're here for. So I appreciate you guys listening, because having to say it out loud is a lot different than having to type it for somebody else to tell your story in a post or in a, for a program. And it's difficult. Melissa, I struggle with being super private. I'm a very super private person, like super private person. And so parts of my story people don't know, I don't share. And I wanted people to understand that I also preach, I don't live from that space anymore. I'm meaning I'm healed from that. I don't live in that space. It doesn't dictate who I am and the woman that I'm becoming every day, but it is a large part of where my impact desires and passions come from. And until you're able to really look at that and really be willing to see it, it's very hard to get to your impact. And Melissa, I would tell you, as far as haters targeting you, girl, haters are going to be there any day, every way. It doesn't matter what you do. Not everyone is going to love you. You just have to be okay with the fact that people are going to hate you. They're going to hate your work. And guess what? That is not who you are here to impact. You are here to impact the person that needed to hear the story you're going to tell, with the ways that you can help them break through that. And hopefully, in ways that maybe they don't have to go through some of it, or they can heal from some of it. I mean, it is the most freeing feeling to know that I can share what I want to share about my stories, and they're my stories. They're my stories to tell. It was my journey. And if you don't want to hear it, and this goes for people that are in my family, if they don't want to hear it, I'm not going to block you from my posts or my lives. Turn me off. Unfriend me. I'm not going to apologize for my story and how I lived it. I am going to use that as a way to change and impact other women and other girls. That's what's important to me, not what you think about how I tell my story. Melissa, too early for a cocktail. I promise you this is really, really empowering. If you're not pissing someone off, you're doing it wrong. I mean, I've just accepted. And I've always been, and go back to when you were a girl, because I would almost guarantee you, if I know how I was when I was a girl, I was a freaking rebel. I was a do it my way. I'm never going to listen to you, Miss Sassy Pants. And I would not care what people thought. You could hurt my feelings and say nasty things, because people said nasty things about me, horrible, nasty things. And it did hurt, but I never let it bring me down. I never let it jade the fact that I knew I was meant for bigger things, which is why I wanted to move out when I was 12, which is why I left New York to Florida when I was 15. I knew I was meant for bigger things. So now as an adult, why would you allow somebody to take that away from you as an adult? I go back to that teenage girl and I say, I need a little bit more of you, sister. I need a little bit more of that girl who said, I don't care, who said, I'm here. This is who I am. And I don't really give a shit what you say or you think. Like, I'll go back. Yes, where's my inner I go back and I look for her and I say, why are you so fearful of this? What are you so worried about? You were never worried about any of those things. Stop being scared. There's nothing to be scared of. I just have to go back and visit her and have her remind me that I'm here for a reason, and that I always knew I was, and that now that I know it, finally, it only took me almost 40 years. I can't dull that now. I can't let it go now. So that's what I would implore you to do. I am doing a free training next week. If anybody's interested, just message me. It's just literally purpose. I don't even remember the name of it, girls. It is totally about finding your impact. It's totally about finding, the way that you can impact the world if you're not sure what that is. I have a lot of network marketing girls that I work with that really struggle with understanding that they get to join a company and it's not just about freedom of money, freedom of whatever, that there's something that's deep down and with them that they need to get out and that they need as a bigger mission. So that's why I'm putting this on. So if you would love to join, I'd love to have you. But this is where I'm going with that. So don't be afraid to share your story. Share your journey. And if it's just with one person, if you are scared to share your story or share your journey, message me. You can share it with me. I will be the one that listens, and there's no judgment and there's no anything. And you tell me what you feel like your story or your journey has created for you and your impact, and let's figure it out. Don't let that stop you. There is somebody here that will listen. Just being you, give me permission, doesn't mean it's easy. Just being you, give me permission, doesn't. If I'm understanding that, you're meaning that if I giving you permission, it doesn't mean it's easy, or if you give yourself permission, it's never going to be easy. Just remember that. Nothing worth fighting for, nothing that you want in this life that's as important as that is easy. It's never going to be easy. Don't look for easy. You don't need easy. All right, ladies, I really appreciate you hopping on live and listening. If you catch the replay, let me know you were here so I can say thank you for listening. If not, if you guys are joining my training next week, I'll love it. I'll see you then. Other than that, go after your messy message and start sharing the messy story. I promise you it will lead you to the right place. I promise. All right, ladies, have an awesome night.